Why hello there, and welcome back to Some Weirdo on the Internet Reviews Obscure Role-Playing Games. Now, let me set the scene for you. The year 1980. This newfangled role-playing game hobby was taking off, and someone was bound to wonder if it could have appeal beyond its dedicated base of science fiction and fantasy enthusiasts. And as you are watching this, about 40 years after that, you can probably guess how well that worked out. Dallas, the television role-playing game, was released in 1980 by Simulations Publications Incorporated, and as you may have gathered, is based on the popular television program Dallas, which was only in its third out of 14 seasons at the time. Now, as a member of aforementioned dedicated base of science fiction and fantasy enthusiasts, I know a thing or two about role-playing games, and almost nothing about Dallas. So, hopefully that's not gonna cause any problems. Dallas is a lot more structured than a lot of other role-playing games, possibly an attempt to be more appealing to a mainstream audience who's used to games that have more structure to their play and well-defined win conditions. Each player takes on the role of one of the major characters from Dallas, like JR, or other characters who I had actually never heard of prior to reading this game because, as previously mentioned, I've never actually watched Dallas. Dallas takes place in episodes, each of which have the overall story and specified win conditions for each of the characters, which is generally having control of a certain number of minor characters or plot devices at the end of the episode. Episodes are then further broken down into scenes, which is where the actual gameplay stuff happens, so let's get into that a little more in depth. Scenes start with a director phase, where the scene is set up and any new minor characters or plot devices are introduced. And as I am unfamiliar with Dallas, let's just say that JR and Cliff Barnes are vying for control of some kind of Texas thing, a rattlesnake with a cowboy hat. Next is the negotiation phase, where players can trade resources, form alliances and such, but that's boring, so let's just move on to the conflict phase. Now, let's say that JR wants control of that rattlesnake with a cowboy hat, but Cliff currently has control of it. When a character wants to get something from another, there are three options they have to do so. Well, in this case, technically two, but honestly, they can't actually do anything to stop you from using the third. Each ability has an effect and resist value, and by comparing all these values, it seems that coercion has the best chance of success here. JR's coercion effect value is 24, and Cliff's resist is 15. The resist value is subtracted from the effect value to determine the spread. Then 2d6 are rolled, and if the result is equal to or less than the spread, the attempt is a success, which it is here. However, the defending character has one last chance to negate the success by rolling against their luck value, which is a miss, and JR has taken control of the coveted rattlesnake with a cowboy hat. And that's pretty much it. It's mostly just that one mechanic. In the abstract, it's kinda neat. I like the idea of subtracting the defense from the attack. Basically, I'm abstracting it into general game terms to get your target number, which is kind of an interesting way to deal with some of the inflexibility which is inherent to roll under systems. But honestly, I think what it comes down to here is the mechanics do what they're supposed to, and they let you do the things you can do in the game, but there's just not a lot of stuff you can do in the game. Other than investigation, which has some more depth to it and takes several steps, pretty much every roll you make is either to get information or control of a minor character or a plot device. I mean, there aren't even rules for shooting JR. So a 2 out of 5, the mechanics themselves aren't bad, but there's pretty much 3 things you can do in the entire game. So the writing in this game is very 1980s role-playing game. It's very straightforward, somewhat technical, very dry, very just bleh. Honestly, there's just not a lot to say about it other than 3 out of 5. Let's just move on to the next part. So, normally I review presentation and content separately, but in this game they're kind of inseparable, so I'm just gonna have to do them together. Dallas was distributed in a box set including a rulebook containing the game rules and 3 episode scripts, a script writer's guide containing advice for running games and writing scripts, as well as information on the various characters, plot devices, and just general Texas stuff. Character sheets for all of the major characters, which also include a full rules summary on the back, cards for all of the minor characters and plot devices used in the provided scripts, and some dice. The layout in the booklets is sufficient. It's just text in columns with no illustrations. Like everything else in this game, it's just kinda there. So, 3 out of 5 for presentation. It is incredibly bland, but convenient to have everything included in the box. Also, 3 out of 5 for content. They give you literally everything you need to play 3 full episodes, and I honestly cannot imagine anyone ever wanting to play more than 3 episodes of this. And there we have it. Dallas, the television role-playing game. A role-playing game based on the television show Dallas. And honestly, aside from its source material, it is completely unremarkable. Just a dry white toast of a role-playing game. Like, maybe if you're really into Dallas, there might be some value there, but other than that, it's just an obscure little footnote in role-playing game history. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit all the lovely buttons. And if you know of any other extremely unlikely licensed role-playing games, let me know about them in the comment, and I'll probably check them out. I don't have anything better to do. Well, until next time.